Alright guys, we are back playing, sorry, have my microphone way back there. We're back playing the, sorry, wow, I'm going crazy right now. Playing Depression Quest, and we just called Alex, so we dial Alex's phone number, figuring out that if you could spend time with her instead of being cooped up in your apartment alone, you might feel less isolated. Her phone rings a handful of times before going to voicemail. You know it's not uncommon for her to be out with her friends at this hour. You leave a voicemail but end up calling again 15 minutes later, still no response. You imagine Alex out with her friends, much like you would be tonight if you weren't so horrible at socializing. Your mind wanders and you start to wonder who she's with and if she might meet someone tonight she'd rather be with. Someone who is able to go to parties like this with her instead of sitting at home feeling sorry for themselves. Why didn't she invite you? Have you just said no one too many times? How many other Fridays have you unknowingly missed? You begin to think that maybe it would just be better if she met someone tonight. She's a wonderful woman and you feel like a constant killjoy on nights like this. Why can't you just be normal? The next morning, Alex calls you back. She tells you she left her phone in class and spent a boring night in her apartment too. You feel horribly embarrassed about how emotional you've gotten over mistaken assumptions the night before. It's a cold Saturday afternoon. You've just arrived at Alex's apartment and you're happy to finally see her after a week of absence due to your schedules not lining up due to work and school. You hug her in the doorway, but she breaks away sooner than normal and sits down on the couch as you take off your sneakers and lay them in the usual place right next to hers. There's something I was hoping we could talk about actually, she says. You instantly worry you're being blindsided by a breakup conversation due to the sudden shift in tone, but she quickly smiles and puts you at ease once she sees all the color leave your face. It's nothing bad, I promise. With that, she leads you over to the couch and sits on the other end of it, facing you. So, I hope this doesn't freak you out, and if you feel like things are going too fast, just tell me. She talks faster than usual and fidgets. We seem to have a lot of weeks like this. They really suck. I was thinking I'd ask, since things are so strong with us, what are your thoughts on maybe moving in together? It takes a few seconds to sink in and leaves you a bit shocked when it does. You are worried she wanted to spend less time with you, not more. Do you want to? You ask. Well, yeah, I do. I mean, we have to sort out logistics and everything, but those are all things we can take care of. You start to walk through the steps of imagining the two of you living together. You love the thought of being able to wake up to her every day and seeing her so often. However, the more you picture it, the more a few concerns become apparent. There are things she is insulated from, like the days you don't feel like you can even get out of bed, the nights your medication keeps you from being able to sleep. All those moments you're stuck staring at the wall, completely out of energy and feeling nothing. How would she handle that? How quickly would she want to get away? So, she starts, what do you think? Take your relationship to the next step with ease. Move in together. Not possible. Tell her you want to move in together. Tell her you want to, but have concerns and discuss them honestly. Tell her you don't think it's a good idea for you right now. Decide to move in regardless of your worries. Let's tell her you want to, but have concerns. You are really worried that if Alex were to live with you, she wouldn't be able to deal with your day of being unable to get out of bed, or nights, sorry. I forgot to start my timer. Okay. Or nights where you can do nothing but stare at the wall and panic. Even though you've discussed your situation with her, you still fear that she doesn't realize the depths of how bad it gets. It's one thing for you to detail how you feel sometimes, but for her to see it pop up occasionally, it's an entirely different situation for it to be something she has to live with alongside you. Well, I'd like to, but I think it's best if we talk about it a bit more before committing to a decision. Though she seems a bit defeated, you make it clear that you're not making excuses and actually mean that you want to talk. You reiterate a lot of what you've told Alex that night, and although she gets a little defensive and tells you that she knows all that already, she confirms that she's willing to help you sort through your issues. I feel like you forget I love you sometimes. I know that there will be bad days, and I'd rather try to work through them with you. We can figure this all out together. Her words sway you, and you can't help but hold her close to you. It's December, and you've returned to your parents' house to celebrate the holidays with your family. Out of the living room window, you can see a gentle flurry of snow drifting down to meet the pristine blanket of white from yesterday's unexpected Christmas Eve snowfall, and you quietly laugh to yourself at how incredibly cliche it seems. Still, as you sit down to dinner, you can't help but notice how being surrounded by family and the overly kitschy atmosphere your mom's decorations have created, it almost makes you feel relaxed and comfortable. Your mom is running around frantically, checking the oven and stockings and just generally trying to family time it up, while your dad sits at the head of the table drinking a beer and laughing with your brother Malcolm. His wife Karen is there too, whom you've always gotten along well with, and your parents even agreed to let you bring your kitten along. She's been darting in and out of the parents' legs and hopping into laps all night. As you thoughtfully munch away at your turkey, listening to conversations around you, your thoughts drift back to the last few months. You think about how hard things have gotten, replaying over your head some of the worst as well as the best memories. It seems like all these things just came to a head over the past few months with the sudden flurry of relationship turmoil and professional anxiety, social stress, and above all, an omnipresent sense of weight that it seems that you have just recently become aware of. You're drawn out of your reverie by your dad's familiar booming laugh at some cheesy comment Malcolm seems to have hit its mark. Sitting at that table, you're suddenly immensely glad for the chance to be able to ignore everything for an evening and not have to struggle trying to explain yourself for once. Fortunately, everyone seems to be content with laughing at each other's jokes and discussing favorite sports teams, and for a while you think you'll be able to get through dinner without any embarrassing personal intrusions. But no sooner did the thought cross your mind than the table conversation trickles off, leaving an awkward silence to descend upon dinner. "So, how are you doing these days?" your mom asks you pointedly. It's such a simple question, and one that you have to answer countless times recently. You take a moment to recollect your thoughts, then looking up, you take a deep breath. Well? You've never really thought of yourself as a fighter, and even to say it now sounds hokey, but looking back on the past few months to where you are now, it really does feel like you've endured an immense struggle, and you look at where you are now with a sense of something that isn't quite pride. You still hate your job and find it unpleasant, but you're surprised to find that going into work every day is no longer a monumental challenge. You started adopting some clever techniques, like taking short 2-minute breaks every hour to break up the monotony. You now view your job as just 8 short hours of your day, a compartmentalization technique Dr. Melville told you about that you've actually found works quite well. You know this job isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life, and you've started actively looking for other positions, even attending a couple preliminary interviews. You started making efforts to go out with your friends more, while the social scene still makes you feel very uncomfortable sometimes. You're more and more able to let yourself just enjoy the company of your friends. In fact, your relationship with many of them has increased over the past little while. You still definitely have days where you flake out or don't feel up to hanging out, but for the most part your friends are understanding and appreciate your communication. By far the biggest change you've noticed in your life has been in your relationship with Alex. You were terrified of talking to her about everything at first, but looking back at how you feel, it's only strengthened your relationship. She was always supportive of you emotionally, but lately the two of you have been even more in sync, and it's really starting to feel like you're building a life together. It even seems like the two of you have been making more concerted effort to sync up your schedules, and have been spending more and more of your downtime with each other. Pretty soon you think moving in together may be a very real possibility. Dr. Melville has commented on how well you seem to be doing, and whether a result of the therapy, the medication, or both, you can't help but agree. With all of that seems to have improved recently, it's sometimes difficult for you to think about the fact that you still have bad days, sometimes even really bad days. They serve as a stark reminder of the fact that this will be something you're likely to deal with for the rest of your life. Depression is a battle, and though you've certainly had in the fight, you know the battle isn't ever going to be over. Sometimes even Alex can tell when things are going rough, despite your best efforts to the contrary. While you know that your depression can never be cured, you have a very strong support network in your friends and even Malcolm, and armed with a newfound confidence in your friends and family, you accept that though the road may be rocky, it is at very least not solitary. You meet your mom's gaze across the table and muster up a smile. "I'm good, Mom," you tell her. She says nothing, but you can feel her smile from across the room. Epilogue. We really want to thank you for taking the time to play Depression Quest. We realize it may not be the most enjoyable game you've ever played, or even the easiest, and we sincerely appreciate your involvement. Like depression itself, Depression Quest does not have an end really. There is no neat resolution to depression, and it was important to us that Depression's Quest's own resolution reflect that. Instead of a tidy ending, we want to just provide a series of outlooks to take moving forward. After all, that's all we can really do with depression. Just keep moving forward, and at the end of the day, it's our outlook and support from people just like you that makes it all the difference in the world. Thanks again. And here's the credits. And you for being willing to play games that are meant to be something other than simply fun. If you guys like this game, like I said, it's not entirely enjoyable, but if you'd like to play it yourself and see what outcome you get, if you want to play it honestly instead of choosing the answers that I did, you can find this right now on Steam. It's free at the moment anyway, and you can just, search Depression Quest, it'll pop up and you can play it immediately. Thank you guys so much for playing through this with me, and again, if you have depression or anything like that, I know it's a really hard topic to talk about. I find it hard to talk about myself, but I really do recommend getting help, whether that's talking to your friends, your family, or going to a therapist. Just talking to somebody can mean the world of difference. So places to reach out to if you're scared of actually talking to someone online. I know there's a community on Reddit that you can talk to. If you search Reddit and depression, I've looked there a couple of times. There's a couple of chat rooms that come up that you can speak to if you don't feel like talking to someone in person or on the phone. So anyway, thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.